As you guys know, I've been a very big BigXThaPlug fan. I've been like BigXThaPlug for probably 2 to 3 years now. BigXThaPlug has made it into my year-end piece that I do for Revolt every year, where I talk about the top 9 top albums of the year. And so we had Take Care in there. We had Amari in there. Amar. This is his son's name. I'm saying it wrong. I just think he's a great voice. I think his storytelling is really dope. I like his punchlines, even if he's punching in, right? And so I'm a big fan of BigXThaPlug. And so BigXThaPlug has been an artist I talked about quite a bit this year on Chart Report too, because he's been one of the most successful rappers, if not outside of Kendrick and Drake. He's probably the most successful rapper in terms of hit songs. And so he had a song called All the Way with Bailey Zimmerman that reached number 4 in the Hot 100. He has another song right now with Ella Langley, which is still within the top 50 on the Billboard Hot 100. His album, I Hope You're Happy, is a country rap album. It's pioneering in a sense. I mean, Nelly did one recently in 2020. I think Nelly actually put everybody, he was the first person to really truly bridge country and rap in an organic way with his collaborations with Tim McGraw over and over particularly. And so BigXThaPlug took it another step, and he worked with Darius Rucker on this album. He worked with Ella Langley, Bailey Zimmerman. He worked with Shabuzi. He worked with Jelly Roll. He worked with Zach Bryan, I think, or Luke Bryan, one of the Bryans. And had a lot of success, a whole lot of success. And yesterday, maybe the day before, BigXThaPlug started trending in the wrong direction. Now, I'm going to show you this clip that had people's perception of BigXThaPlug changing again. But there's a statement, here's a post right here that I think also is something that happened recently with BigXThaPlug. Royal Conquest says, another pod claimed Big X didn't write his rhymes. Is that true? Now, to say he didn't write his rhymes is a big extreme, but he did have one of his people in his camp wrote one of his songs. And so, or at least he said that one of his homies in his camp wrote one of his songs. Now, I understand where he is probably coming from, with that. Like, one thing that people will do is they'll give writing credits to, or let their people on their team write songs to help give them writing credits or help them make some money, right? I think that's probably more of what it is. But yeah, he's been open about having other people in his camp write with him, and I guess in that case, write for him. And I'm not surprised by that either, coming from the fact that he just spent all year working on a country album, right? I mean, Nashville is a writer's town. So when people get into those studios on Music Row or anywhere in Nashville, they're all writing together. And so I'm not surprised to hear some of that. I think maybe the song that they were talking about, I think that was The Largest, or one other song, I'm not sure. But all of that falls in line with me. But yes, BigXThaPlug had to weather that too, right? So this new one really connects to something that I'm bothered by, just generally speaking. I have a real problem when people come up in hip hop and then all of a sudden start dissing hip hop. And so there's a lot of people who are taking what BigXThaPlug said here in this next clip that way. So here's the clip. This conversation took place in August. It was on NY Times Popcast. And so this was in promotion of his album, I Hope You're Happy. And so here's what he says, and I'll break it down. All right, so pay attention to this closely, because this is the part right here that people have been very upset about BigXThaPlug, very upset with BigXThaPlug about this part here. All right, so he just set it up. He asked him if he made the choice to do this country excursion. Was this basically an artistic decision?
Mm-hmm. And you saw it as a commercial opportunity or an artistic one, or both?
Artistic.
Okay.
Because in my head, I was trying to, whatever I do, I want to be the best at it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like I'm not just a hip hop artist. I'm an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, if I could auto-tune some stuff up, I feel like I could be the best singer in the world. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Like, whatever I do, I want to be the best at it. And so I want to be the best artist in the world. The only way I can do that is if I can show that I can do something other than rap.
And go. I want to be the best artist in the world, and the only way I can do that is if I could show I could do something other than rap.
Tomato.
Because it's false. It's a very false statement. And we've seen this a number of times, right? There's this idea that somehow hip hop itself is limiting. Hip hop is limiting. And there's a long history of this, of course, but more than anything else, part of what I see here, because I will give grace and then I'll take it back real quick if that if that grace isn't respected. But part of what I see here is that he is interchanging hip hop and rap in this conversation. He is interchanging the two. And so what he's saying is, only way I can be the biggest in the world is if I could prove and show that I can do something other than rap, right? Now, I still don't like it at all, period, at all. But we've seen this, particularly with Post Malone is an example of this. We've seen this with Miley Cyrus. I mean, that's another example of this. We've seen a lot of people who still look at hip hop as limiting. In 2025, this isn't 1985. Hip hop itself is a sample-based genre. It's a sample-based genre. It evolves. That's why it's the biggest in the world. And so for him to frame it this way upset a lot of people. A lot of people were upset with BigXThaPlug because it is one of the things that people say about Black art in general. People feel like being big in the Black community or things that represent the Black community is limiting on a global scale, when the whole globe is moved and impacted by Black art, particularly Black music from America, in a way that no other genre, no other type of music is. No other type of music. All the major forms of music come from the Black community, are created by Black Americans, majority of the majors, not all of them. And here's BigXThaPlug making an quote unquote artistic decision to do something other than rap because he feels like hip hop is limiting.
Tomato.
This is terrible. This is terrible. It's one of those things. Now, again, to give him grace on this, he is interchanging rap and hip hop. Let's listen to his statement one more time, and then we're going to go finish the rest of the quote, because I do think that part's important too.
But Post, it tastes just like Wilson's. When I said it, a lot of people was like, I want to be on it. And I was like, well, artistic. Okay. Because in my head, I was trying to, whatever I do, I want to be the best at it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like I'm not just a hip hop artist. I'm an artist. Yeah. If I could auto-tune some stuff up, I feel like I could be the best singer in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever I do, I want to be the best at it. And so I want to be the best artist in the world. The only way I can do that is if I can show that I can do something other than rap.
And go.
I don't even think that's the case. I mean, it's really, it reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of Tommy Richmond. And we saw that last year with Tommy Richmond and $1 Million Baby. First week of May 2024 will be in history forever, because that's the height of Kendrick versus Drake, of course. And at the end of that week, Not Like Us was #1 and Euphoria was #3 on the charts. #2 was $1 Million Baby. When people look back at that time, when that story is told, one of the things that will be included in the story of this great Shakespearean shakedown is the number of artists who were scared to drop at that point in time. Big Sean almost became a funny, I don't want to say punchline, but like side mission, because he dropped his Return freestyle, and then the next day, Like That drops the next day. They were scared trying to figure out how to drop his project. Number of artists were pushing their music back because that conversation was so big that nothing else was cutting through. And the only thing that was cutting through, other than Not Like Us, Euphoria, Family Matters, Push-Ups, the only thing else that was cutting through was $1 Million Baby. $1 Million Baby, Tommy Richmond.
Tomato. Because
Tommy Richmond went out of his way, unprompted on his own, went out of his way to tweet that he's not a hip hop artist.
Tomato.
When Tommy Richmond did that, he was he had one of the 3 biggest songs on the planet, 100% embraced by rap DJs, hip hop culture, all the TikTok dances. It was helped and supported by hip hop. Once he came outside and said, on his own, unprompted, no, I'm not that. Don't think of me as them. No, I know it's tempting, but trust me, that ain't me. Despite the fact that all of his clothing designs, all of his attire that he wears in his video, all the imagery that he puts in all of his music, despite the fact that that screams hip hop, screams it, he drew a line in the sand on his own, unprompted, for no reason. Tommy Richmond ain't been moving the same since. Well, I think he's been moving the same, but his music hasn't. That turned into a real thing. It turned into a conversation between him and DJ Head. He basically went on a little mini apology tour trying to clean up what he was saying. Oh, I didn't mean like I'm not hip hop. I'm just saying I'm more of an R&B artist, whatever it is. Putting the two different conversations next to each other. Hip hop is much bigger than just the genre of music itself. He had to talk to Elliott Wilson. He went to talk to a lot of people trying to clean that up. It was a big deal. It was a big, big deal. And it was completely unprompted. It was an unforced error on his own. Tommy Richmond's songs ain't been moving the same since. They have not been moving the same since. Recent history on one of the most exciting new artists last year, on the only artist that was able to cut through the most difficult time that I can ever remember in hip hop to try to cut through. And he just threw it away by framing things on his own. Drawing a line in the sand about what he is and what he's not on his own. And that's what BigXThaPlug is doing right here. BigXThaPlug has been able to be the most exciting artist out of Texas, new artist out of Texas, this decade at least. He's got a distinguishing look, a distinguishing voice. He's got impactful storytelling. He makes pretty much, other than this project, all of his other stuff is street rap, gangster rap, trap tales, hustle stories. Gets around country for 3 seasons. 3 seasons. Goes and hangs out in Nashville for 3 seasons. And goes up to the NY Times Popcast and says, hey man, I want to be the biggest artist. I can't do it hanging around these niggas.
Tomato.
It's terrible. It's an unforced error. And I don't think that he thought about this in that context when he was saying it. Perhaps this was part of what was driving his decision to go into country. But then again, he said that it was artistic. And I guess maybe that's what he means. And that's how it supports it. Right. But people in general, I don't think understand. How about this? I think there's a long history of people feeling like they can get away with disrespecting hip hop, get away with disrespecting rap music, and get away with disrespecting Black cultures. I think there's a long history of that. And I think that has crept into the minds and the decision-making of not only the artists, but just regular citizens. I think a lot of people feel like, okay, I got to do this in order for me to be successful. I've got to get my code switching down in order for me to get this job, right? I can see where it comes from. And again, I'm giving him grace because he's using rap and hip hop interchangeably. Perhaps he's thinking he's talking about rap music. I can see an argument there. So I'll give him grace on that again. But this is one of those moments that we just saw with Tommy Richmond most recently. And we have BigXThaPlug who's spending all of his time in country now. This is where he is blown up. Like one of the biggest snubs at the Grammys this year is BigXThaPlug not being named for Best New Artist. That is a big snub, major snub. He's bringing cultures and communities together and he goes to talk about it and he starts deriding the one that actually made him in the first place.
Tomato.
I hate it. Hate all of this. I never liked this. Never liked this at all. This is where a lot of Yuck Gross comes from on the chart report. We got chart report coming up next. This is where a lot of that comes from in the first place, right? When people feel like they have to diss their community, diss where they come from in order to find success. You can't just go on and just do your thing on your own. You can't just do that. You have to make statements like that. But that's not the only thing that really stands out to me about this clip, right? Because where he takes this next, I also think is a talking point. I do think the next thing he says is a talking point. So let's take a look.
The only way I can do that is if I can show that I can do something other than rap.
and go out to the world.
Exactly.
It's like touring Europe. It's like I got to go visit with y'all and see what you guys have going on.
Rap's pretty global, by the way. Just so you know, rap and hip hop is all over the world. You can go to other countries with rap and hip hop.
Tomato.
And so with me saying that and us doing the whole country, we was like, bet, let's do it. And so we went head first into it. And we worked at that. We probably been doing this country project maybe a year and a half.
Pay attention to this part here, because I do think there's a lot of validity to what he says here.
Yeah, I mean, people in Nashville that I was talking to about it last year, you know, or like Ernest and those guys, like they were already either submitting songs or had done sessions with you all the way back then.
And at the same time, you have Take Care, your previous release.
That took maybe 6 months.
But that one was still...
He was working on the country album for a year and a half. Take Care, which is one of the best albums that came out last year. I put it on the Revolt Best Albums of the Year last year. He said he worked on that 30 days. Is that what he said?
Care, your previous release.
That took maybe 6 months.
But
6 months. So the country album took 18 months. The rap project took 6 months. Keep that in mind.
That one was still growing and growing, and you put out the deluxe, and the songs are in commercials and movies and going up on streaming. So you sort of you could let that do its thing in the background as you worked on this new phase.
But just still, I've never, ever spent that long on a project.
I've never spent that long on the project. He's talking about his country album. He's talking about how much time he spent in Nashville. Keep listening.
Is that because of the different production and writing approaches of the Nashville people?
The country music, for one, hip hop and country music, they both have the same base, which is storytelling.
Yes.
It all goes back to story. You can tell a good story, you can sell any record.
Yeah.
So with me, with that being said, but the country lane is still different. They put a lot more into it, and I think that's what made me love it. Like, it's a love-hate relationship. I'm gonna be completely, it's a love-hate.
They put a lot more into it. It's a love-hate relationship. Watch how he closes this.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they put so much into it, but I hate the fact that the process is so long. And slow.
They're very detail-oriented.
For sure.
Because so it was like, all right, this verse, it's not quite right. We need a different line here. We need a different rhyme here. We need a different word.
And I'm talking about they're so, like, they go all the way to like the cadence. Like,
of course.
Like, record this again.
I watched Post Malone sit in a booth and just go like just trying to find his cadence for 30 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, that's cool. That, you know what I'm saying? Y'all start all the way from there, but
he was ready to get out the studio. They were working too hard. They were working too hard in country. They were sitting around for 30 minutes trying to get a cadence right. It's taken them 18 months to put the project together. Rap project come out 6 months. This is 3 times that. Never done that. Look at the clock. I gotta go. I'm not sure if you notice how icy my wrist is right now, but it's telling me, all right, let's wrap this up.
I got places to be.
So, but like I said, it's a love-hate relationship. But I love that they care about the story. Like, it never changes. It's always gonna be a story. It's always gonna be a storyline. Rap music, I love rap. I love hip hop. But I feel like that's what it has been missing.
Well,
that's what it has been missing. That's what it has been missing. That's where he ends at. That's where BigXThaPlug takes it. Now, I think that we can always look at outliers in our space and what's happening in hip hop, particularly over the past, particularly since the onset of Fruity Loops, perhaps is a good example, right? Particularly since the onset of Fruity Loops, right? But what he's saying has a lot of validity to it. And we have been in this era of surprise drops, of this era, putting together really fast projects. We have so many artists who are the antithesis of what he's talking about, right? Kendrick is the antithesis of that, generally speaking. You know, J. Cole. I mean, I don't know how long we've been waiting on the fall off. I think it's the worst name ever, and I think he's speaking it into existence, but he's been working on it for a long time. There's a ton of great Big Crit, phenomenal artist who puts a lot of effort into his music before he puts it out. But even if you look back in the day, outside of Jay-Z for a long time, and maybe things are happening with No Limit, but Jay-Z dropping quality projects the way he did throughout his career, dropping one a year, dropping annually and coming up with crazy stuff, that was outside of the norm. Everyone else is taking 2-3 years to put things together. Outkast 2-3 years, Nas 2-3 years. You start looking at this was the case. You start looking at what happened. If you look at the Dr. Dre family tree, the way that BigXThaPlug is talking about Post Malone sitting there for 30 minutes, trying to get the cadence right, that sounds like every story from anybody in the Dr. Dre family tree. All of them talk about how Dr. Dre will sit there and make you say something over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? Somewhere along the way, speed and volume started carrying a lot more weight in what's happening in hip hop. And I can remember that time. I mean, you're talking 2010, almost to last year, when you start having artists who are running it up on SoundCloud, the streaming era, the fact that, I can make something real quick, drop it and start trying to cash checks almost immediately. Speed, convenience started taking over a whole lot more strategic space in this space than that was previously. BigXThaPlug, while he's sitting here saying he gotta go do something other than hip hop, he wants to be the biggest in the world, is also saying, man, it's taking too long to do this. It's taking me too long to do something other than hip hop. I'm trying to go back to hip hop, where I don't have to work as hard, where I can put out stuff faster. What is happening to our space? I saw this conversation. This conversation has been going up for the past 2 days, and I agree with everything they said. I've done multiple pieces, editorial pieces, video pieces, think pieces, published pieces on this particular issue of people who feel like they have to diss the culture in order to expand. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. But this one is so crazy because his final point is something I also am very passionate about. People putting out music fast because perhaps it's a super fan environment. Perhaps it's streaming. Perhaps I just need to get money quick. Perhaps a label sitting around saying, hey, does it make sense to develop this artist, or does it make sense to try to put the right people in the room together to make some music when I can just wait and see how something's performing on streaming or how their own social movement is moving before I decide to pull the trigger on anything? It's external, but it's also internal. Well, I remember Lil Wayne, the Carter documentary before the Carter 3 came out. Carter documentary. Man, the Carter documentary. It blew people's minds because that was the first time we had seen someone, for the most part, with a mobile studio. So he would pull his microphone out the bag and he would record on the bus. He'd pull his microphone out the bag and he'd record in the hotel room, right? You had Jay-Z who was telling people that he didn't write his rhymes. Well, if you've read Jay-Z's book, Decoded, you'll understand that he is writing his rhymes in his head, which is completely different. He described a scenario where he would go to Trenton, New Jersey when he was still selling drugs. And he'd be out there in Trenton, New Jersey. And he couldn't have a pen and pad, obviously, if you're standing on the corner. Writing something down in the corner sounds like a liability. He couldn't use a pen and pad, so he got used to reciting his rhymes in his head. I've always had a petrifying fear of public speaking throughout the course of my career, which is why I do it for a living now. I have a problem with fear. Like, I have a fear of fear. So usually when I'm scared of something, I'm like, man, I clearly need to go attack that because something good is going to be on the other side. One of the ways that helped me get through my fear of public speaking is to really study what it is that I have to say in front of people. So you just start reading and remembering and reciting whatever it is that you're going to say. That's what Hov describes in Decoded. He's not necessarily, like, you do that for long enough, you become very fast at these things. So it wasn't like he just decided, I'm not going to write rhymes. I'm just going to figure this out on the spot. He had been doing that for so long. He had been doing that out of necessity, and he honed a skill. That inspired people to say, oh, I should probably not write rhymes too. Let me just punch in. BigXThaPlug does a lot of punching in too, by the way. But he says, let me just punch in. People don't necessarily see how you get to the point or get to where you are. They just feel like, oh, this is the thing to do. This is faster. This is more convenient. Oh, I can come up with something hot like that. You have all of that influence. You have the streaming influence. You have the changing nature of the business, and you have A&Rs and executives saying it's not necessarily worth it to invest and develop an artist in the same way. All of those things, in my opinion, have led to this era we're in, or at least led to this pattern of people putting out really fast rap albums. The history of hip hop says something otherwise. The history of hip hop says, yo, if you look at all these classics, they didn't come out that fast. If you look at all these classics, they really worked on them. They spent time honing their craft. They spent time figuring out what they wanted to talk about. They've spent time getting their performance right, their vocals right, etc. And that was a long time ago now. So much so that BigXThaPlug is going viral for inadvertently dissing hip hop on his way to saying he wants to be the biggest person in the space, but also confessing that, yeah, rap's a lot easier. And I'm not actually sure I'm really built for this 18-month process to get it right. The irony of him saying that, while he has the biggest project that he's put out so far, he's got the most success that he's ever had on the charts. He's got more broader recognition by collaborating with so many different country artists. He understands the Nashville process in a different kind of way. The fact that he experienced all that and his takeaway was, yeah, I got to get back to rap, man. I don't got the time to be working this hard on my music. That is crazy. It is crazy to me. And it's extremely disappointing on all fronts. I like the fact that he pointed it out. I don't like the fact that that's his takeaway. His takeaway was, I shouldn't be working this hard to sell people music. I like the fact that he experimented quite a bit with this project here. I hate the fact that he's framing it as if you can't be the biggest in the world by just doing hip hop. I think BigXThaPlug is wildly talented. He is incredibly talented. I don't see a world where BigXThaPlug is ever as big as Kendrick Lamar. I don't see that world. I don't see a world where BigXThaPlug is ever as big as Jay-Z. I don't see that world. I don't see a world where BigXThaPlug is ever as big as Future. I don't see that world. Perhaps things will change in the future, but BigXThaPlug's analysis?
Tomato.
The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping in. Systematical culture views us radical. It's all happening. Shaking hands and dabbing in. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, dog. You don't stop. You don't stop. Justin Hunt is here. It's all happening. It's all happening. Yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here. It's all happening. It's all happening. Yes, it's all happening.